My name is Nick Wasika. I'm a photo addict with a sports problem. And this is The Card Show. On this episode of The Card Show.
1, 2, 3, hit it.
It's Sweet Home Chicago as I head to the 40th Annual National Sports Collectors Convention. While there, we'll chat with the retired police officer from Jacksonville, by way of Detroit, who's part hobbyist, part historian, and he'll share with us how he made his way to the '68 World Series. Next, we'll talk to the New Yorker who shares with us an extraordinary collectible, as he recalls his earliest memories of Yankee Stadium with his father. We'll hear a word from our sponsor, who really isn't our sponsor, but hey, he's slinging a cool product, he's a fellow Minnesotan, and he's wearing a Bomba Squad shirt. Come on now. Finally, we'll sit down with the artist who has cut and glued his way to notoriety by creating some of the most iconic cards the hobby has ever seen while using a very unique approach. When it comes to collecting, some people like shiny, some people like rare. As for me, I fall into the vintage category. So, it was pretty cool of Dave Kowalski, along with his wife Laura, to give me a brief history lesson on this 1921 Babe Ruth.
It's a 1921 Shapiro candy, and what's really neat about it is on the box of candy, one side would be a portrait of Babe Ruth on it, the other side would be an action photo like this card, and there were 5 action photos. The shtick they had back then in the 20s was if you turned in 250 of the portrait cards, they would give you a free autographed Babe Ruth baseball. Well, what's happening is the kids would cut out all the portraits to save and send in, the rest of the box would get tossed, and so a lot of those ended up in the garbage. That's why the value of that is twice what the portrait card is.
Now, if you think tickets for big games are tough to come by nowadays, listen to how it worked if you wanted to score tickets for the '68 World Series.
How you got to go was, we lived in Detroit, lived in the suburbs, you sent cash in the mail to the Tigers baseball club. No, I'm serious. I remember Mom and Dad saying, well, do you want to go? And my dad was a fireman. So he was working, it was just me and my mom, my brother was in the military. And so they said $12 cash, the Detroit Tigers baseball club. And you would wait like a month or two when they did the drawing, and if you got to go, they'd send you tickets. If not, they'd send you a check back in the mail. Well, like 3 weeks later, got our 2 tickets. We sat in the center field bleachers for game 3 for $6 a piece. And that's 1968. Of course, the Tigers lost that game, but they won the World Series.
Yeah, they did. The floor of the National is electric, and in some sections it feels more like a museum than a show. I saw a lot of really cool things, and this baseball signed by the Sultan of Swat and the Iron Horse was no exception. Price for this beaut? $5,900. But that wasn't as cool as a story Andrew Caparelli told me about his first memories of old Yankee Stadium with his dad.
1973, my father took me. How old were you? 4. And I'll never forget it. He held my hand, walked in. What do you remember then? I remember the facade around the stadium. And then he took me to the upper deck. That's all we could afford. And the blue seats. So at home, because of my connection to baseball, the Yankees, I had a pair of seats from Yankee Stadium. Really? My dad helped me score. Hold my hand, fly out. He taught me how to score. So I always had an appreciation for scoring, which is like a lost art now. The kids just go right online.
Andrew got me thinking that was probably time to teach my son how to score. And at our very next Twins game, that's exactly what we did. Way more fun and a whole lot cheaper than a pretzel and some Dippin' Dots and a mini helmet that I'd ultimately end up finishing, but we got anyway. But hey, the kid knows how to score now. So, thanks, Andrew. And now a word from our super unofficial sponsor. Take it away, Matt.
The most proud of at the NSCC 19 is our first of its kind collector's hard shell backpack. It's made of ABS plastic to protect your cards. Inside you have modular cut EVA foam inserts so that you can fit your graded cards on their edge or your raw cards upright in any combination. So it holds up to 84 PSA slabs, 54 BGS slabs, or 560 top loaders, or the equivalent in mag cases in any combination. Underneath this PU foam number, you can get supplies, chargers, phone cables, iPads, even up to a 13-inch laptop, all while fully loaded with cards. That you'll see briefcases being lugged around. Not one person who's carrying around one of these briefcases doesn't look miserable. We've added a detachable shoulder strap to all of our stuff because when they're loaded with plastic, they do get pretty heavy. Something fun that we're doing here for the kids is that we've got our first of its kind gem bumper for PSA and VGS graded cards. The real utility is that it has this flip down stand in the back, and so that if you're trying to show off, if for a dealer, for example, you're trying to show off your high-end stuff, you can really put some eyes on the cards that you're trying to move. But for the National, it's fun to throw our lanyard on it, wear around your PC, let people know what kind of a collector you are. Myself, I'm a Twins fan, so I've worn my Eddie Rosario gems to Target Field before, and it is exactly as glorious as it sounds like it would be.
You get a lot of attention from it?
Yeah, you get, every time I get up from the seat, 5 people are asking me what's around my neck, and as a card collector, all I want to do is talk about my cards anyway. So.
Speaking of Twins, how many bombas did it hit last year? Sounds like some sort of record. Being the huge camera, art, music nerd that I am, the first email I sent after finalizing plans for the National was to our next guest, who has carved out his own special place in the hobby by recreating classic cards out of commons. It's always interesting to find out how these ideas come about.
My wife was a teacher and she was presenting at a science conference in New Orleans back in '09. And we were down in the French Quarter and we were looking at all the different crazy kinds of art, body paintings, anything to do with voodoo, a lot of folk art, eclectic stuff. And it started raining, so we were heading back to the hotel, and we stopped in a 7-Eleven and picked up a magazine, and there was a blurb about the 100th anniversary of the Wagner. It got wheels turning. Then, why hasn't someone done something of the Wagner? Can I trade those commons in my closet for a Wagner? I started taking them and laying them, overlapping them. At first I had no thoughts of cutting them. I was going to do some sort of layout where I spread them out on top of each other. And I realized I was going to have to cut off some borders. So once I started cutting the borders off, people came on at that. I call it a concept piece. The first 3 or so was me getting my feet wet, me trying to figure out what to do next. I didn't take it serious. And obviously not like I do now, but then it was just kind of, hey, this is fun.
As a big fan of creativity, I'm always intrigued by the process of artists.
When doing a portrait, you see things in shapes. And I was a math teacher, so being able to see just blocks of shapes of color and going with that, it not only gives it a watercolor effect, but it works. Especially from like a mosaic type standpoint. And a lot of my work is done upside down. I know you saw me out there working right side up, but for the most part, I work upside down for that very reason, because you don't really look at it as a face, you look at it as a shape of this shape and the shape of this shape put together.
Speaking of shade, it's not like Tim can go to the local art store and pick up media for his next project.
I look at commons differently. That's definitely, I was telling a gentleman yesterday, there are countless times that the Von White 87 or 89 top shows up in pieces because his skin tone works well in that photograph, works well for what I do. The 87 top Ryan Clutterbuck is used a lot. The green on an 87 top Donnie Moore. I believe I used that one card 200 times in one piece.
You know all these cards that go on eBay now.
After speaking with Tim and seeing the work up close, it's easy to see why he's done commission work for Upper Deck, Major League Baseball, and the Baseball Hall of Fame. But meeting fans at shows and interacting with them online is just as important to him as a robust client list.
Been sharing my stuff or liking my stuff online, and I let them know that although they may not think it, a retweet or a like, and the way everything is online and people see that, see the likes, that even if it's just one person, and if I land a commission off of that, they're keeping me doing this for a living, and every like, every retweet counts, and I really do appreciate it. It's nice to see those.
As for the piece he was working on during the show, it was a 2019 Topps Living set of Mike Trout. Sweet. To see more of Tim's work or inquire about a commission, you can find him online at www.timcarrollart.com. And for amazing hobby-related content, make sure to follow him on the Twitters and the Instagrams. I do, at Tim Carroll Art for both.
Way better than a full box, kid. What's your son's name? Drew. Better give your dad a big hug when he gets home.
A big thanks to some of my favorite podcasters because, let's be honest, there's no way I'm at the National talking about this show if they didn't have me on theirs. So to Tim and Steph from About the Cards and John from Sports Card Nation, thank you. Make sure to check out their content and follow them on social. Links will be provided in the description below. Last but not least, a big thank you to Rob Bertrand and Ivan Lovegren for literally giving me a stage to talk about this show. Links for everything these guys have going on will also be in the description below. Put a bow on this one, and we'll see you next time.